Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I do want to take my first look and do my first prediction for the 2022 Senate elections. Now, it may seem kind of weird to be doing a 2022 Senate election after we have just completed the 2020 election, or not even completed yet. There's still many uncalled races and runoffs that are yet to happen. But I still did think that it was useful to look at these elections because given the situation we have now, which is 4 years of a Biden presidency, the first two of which are most likely going to be controlled with a Republican Senate, how is that going to change things? How is it going to, affect things? And a lot of it depends on the 2022 Senate elections, the policies that are passed, the judicial nominees that are appointed, etc. Those all depend on the Senate. And the Senate's very important. There's a number of seats that are competitive. There's a number of seats that could go either way. And a lot of this is basing it off of assumption if certain people run, if certain trends happen. But what we do probably know is that it will be a Republican wave year. That's something that we've consistently seen in the midterms of presidencies with few exceptions. For example, 2002 is an exception after 9/11 when Bush was very popular. But other than that, there aren't really many examples of politicians and presidents avoiding these wave years. So I do want to go through each one of these seats, seeing what I would rate them. Again, my margins are 0 to 2 for tilt, 2 to 5 for lean, 5 to 10 for likely, and 10 plus for safe. So let's get right into it. Now, it does look weird kind of looking at these maps after I'd been going through the 2020 map for so long, but we're going to do it regardless. So the safe Republican states, first off, that includes the states of Idaho, Utah, as well as Alaska. Lisa Murkowski may lose her seat in a primary challenge, maybe to someone like Sarah Palin, which would be quite funny. But whoever wins the primary, it'll be safe Republican most likely regardless. North Dakota, South Dakota are also safe. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, as well as Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana. I also believe Ohio is probably safe. This is probably going to be a Republican wave year. Ohio is already quite a Republican state, and the Republicans have Rob Portman, most likely is going to run again. I don't really see much challenge to him, and I think that he'll win probably by around 10 percentage points. South Carolina is another state I do think would be safe Republican, and Missouri I do believe would be safe Republican. Iowa I do believe could be safe Republican. It depends on whether Chuck Grassley runs or not. Chuck Grassley said that he hasn't decided yet on whether he would run. If he did run, I think even though he's like 87, 88 years old, he would win his race. But if he doesn't run, I think the race will be likely, which we'll talk about in a second. But overall, there are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 safe seats for the Republican Party. And then for the Democratic Party, they will get California as a safe state. This will be a seat that you would assume the appointed senator to replace Kamala Harris will run for. And that will be an interesting election, but it'll be safe regardless. Oregon, the same thing. Washington, same thing there. Hawaii too, as well as Illinois, New York, Vermont, Connecticut, and Maryland. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 15 safe seats for the Republicans, 9 safe seats for the Democrats, and potentially actually a 16th for the Republicans. And one of these Georgia seats will not actually have an election because it's dependent on who wins it this year. For example, if Purdue wins this year, that's another Republican seat there, but that's another thing we'll talk about in a little bit. But after the safe seats, Republicans are already at 45, Democrats are at 44. We only have 11 undecided seats so far that are rated as just generally competitive. First, the likely states. I do believe that Iowa would be a likely state. Iowa's not really a competitive state anymore, to be honest. After Obama won it both times, Democrats historically have done well here. Republicans have done very well in recent years, since 2016, since 2014. They haven't really lost many races at all. I don't even think they've lost any statewide races, with the exception of a couple. But I do believe that assuming this is an open seat, it will probably still be likely just due to the fact you're going to have higher turnout amongst Republicans, and it is a pretty Republican state. And I also do believe that Florida would be a likely margin. You have Marco Rubio here. He may not run for the seat. If we do look down here at the state of Florida, it says, actually, so he is running for re-election. He said on November 9, 2020 that he would be running for re-election. So, you know, the only candidate I can think of for the Democratic Party that could make it somewhat competitive is Val Demings, the congresswoman. Maybe even Charlie Christie, former governor, ran for Senate. He's now a congressman from Florida's, I believe, 15th congressional district, something like that, in the Tampa Bay area. Regardless, you know, they could make it somewhat competitive, but Marco Rubio is going to be able to win quite easily. Regardless, he did it in 2016, he did it in 2010, and I think he'll be able to do it in 2022 as well. And then the likely margin states for the Democrats, I think there is just one, and that would be the state of Colorado. You have Michael Bennett here, who is actually now, you know, a more prominent figure in the Democratic Party and nationwide. He did run for president in 2020, and now, you know, Colorado is a much bluer state than what it used to be back when he used to run elections in 2016 and 2010. I think even if there's a Republican wave here, he's going to be able to win quite easily. So after the after the likely margin states, Republicans are at 47. Democrats are at 45. Now, I'm going to put both of the Georgia seats at lean just because as of right now, I do think that both Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue will win probably by around a lean margin. As for Kelly Loeffler, she'd have to run in 2022. I do think that, you know, if Democrats can't beat her this year, they're not going to be able to beat her in 2022. So I do think that she will end up winning the seat, and both of those seats are going to be lean Republican. I also think that Wisconsin is probably lean Republican too. If we do look at Wisconsin, it is of note here that Ron Johnson said before that he wasn't going to run in 2022, but now he has said that he may end up running for the seat. If he does run for the seat, I think he has a very good chance of winning, and I think he'll win quite easily, probably by a lean margin. That's what I am assuming will happen. But if he doesn't run, you know, maybe you have the Josh Kaul, the Attorney General, and Scott Walker, who's not running. So maybe if you have Josh Kaul versus, you know, some Republican who's not that good of a candidate, maybe it could be closer, maybe it could even flip. But I think that, you know, Democrats, the future in Wisconsin is not too bright for Democrats in Wisconsin. Another lean Republican seat is actually, I believe, New Hampshire would be a lean Republican seat. You do have Chris Sununu here, who's the governor, won by a landslide in his governor election this year. I think that he would be able to win quite easily, or not quite easily, maybe by 2 to 3 percentage points in the 2022 Senate election in New Hampshire. He would be running against Maggie Hassan, who was just elected in 2016, who beat incumbent Senator Kelly Ayotte by, you know, couple thousand votes in 2016. I do believe if Chris Sununu runs, which I am assuming, if Chris Sununu runs, it will be a lean Republican seat. You know, New Hampshire does have a tendency to unseat incumbents, maybe not as of recently, but, you know, the past 5-6 years, it has definitely done so. So I do believe that if Chris Sununu runs, it's lean Republican, which I am assuming. If he doesn't run, it's probably lean to likely Democrat, to be honest. Just like it was this year, was a safe Democratic seat, even though the electorate was not that heavily Democratic. And then lean seats for the Democrats. There actually are no lean seats for Democrats. Actually, finally, I would put North Carolina at a lean Republican state. You know, you do have the incumbent Senator Richard Burr, who won't be running for re-election. He had some insider trading stuff that really tarnished him, and even if he did run at that point, he wasn't going to be able to win. But he is retiring, so you do have an open seat. I can't really think of many Republican candidates that could be good, to be honest. I mean, maybe you have the former Governor Pat McCrory, who lost to Roy Cooper in 2016. Speaking of Roy Cooper, maybe you have Roy Cooper run for the seat. He is the current governor, you know. Governors in North Carolina don't actually have much power. They don't have power for the redistricting, and both of the legislatures are Republican, and the Republicans gained in 2020. They likely win in 2022 as well. Roy Cooper would kind of have an unproductive second stint as governor. So I do believe that it would be smart for him to run for Senate if he wants a political future, to be honest, especially since he would actually have the ability to win this seat. You know, Cal Cunningham probably would have won this seat this year without the scandal, and Roy Cooper can kind of, since it's an open seats are usually more independent of wave years, and I do believe Roy Cooper would be able to win, but I'm not sure whether he'll actually run. So right now I'm going to put it as lean Republican. Then for the tilt states, I actually do believe that all three of these states here would be tilt Democrat, and I will give you my reasoning, and these are states that could go either way, but right now I'm putting them as tilt Democrat. First of all, Nevada. Now, Nevada I'm putting tilt, and I'm putting it very close because you do have Ocasio-Cortez master for the Republican Party, but you do have some potentially good candidates running for the seat for the Republican Party. A former Governor Brian Sandoval, who won in landslides, back in 2010 in another wave year, for example. You have the former Attorney General Adam Laxalt as well. So those are two good candidates that the Republicans could run that could defeat Ocasio-Cortez Masto, and it would be a very close race if they did run. If they don't run, I think Ocasio-Cortez Masto would win quite easily, but I'm assuming that one of them will probably run, so I am going to put that at tilt Democrat just for now, but it really could go either way, to be honest. Arizona is another seat. I do think this would be very narrow. I am also working on the assumption that incoming Governor Doug Ducey of the Republican Party would be running for this seat against Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, won by 2.6 percentage points. I put it at a lean margin. It didn't end up going by a lean margin. Mark Kelly did end up winning that seat, but it was closer than what he probably would have liked. And so you look at the 2022 Senate elections, if he runs against Doug Ducey in a Republican wave year, it's probably going to be very, very close. If he doesn't run Doug Ducey, I think Mark Kelly will be able to win, by quite a substantial margin, especially if he ran against Martha McSally. That'd be a third times the charm for Martha McSally, or a third loss, to be honest. But if we do look at the, possibility of Doug Ducey running, that would be he is term limited as a governor. He'd be term limited in 2022. So it would make perfect sense for him to run for the Senate seat. And I think he would be able to do it. And I think it would be very narrow, and it really could go either way. But right now, I will put it at a narrow tilt margin for the Democrats in the state of Arizona. Finally is the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I would normally put this as a Republican state, but I just don't know who the Republicans are going to run at this point. You look at the possible Democratic candidates, and you have a number of strong figures. You have candidates like Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman. You have U.S. Representative Connor Lamb. You have former Toomey's 2010 opponent, Pat Toomey's 2010 opponent, Joe Sestak. You have the state treasurer, Joe Torsella. So those are a number of good candidates so that I do believe would be able to run for this seat. Potential Republican candidates, really, I'm not sure who would run, to be honest. Guy Reschenthaler could be a good candidate, but again, he's a freshman rep, similar to Connor Lamb, but I'm not sure whether he'd be able to do as well. And Pennsylvania, it's a different kind of state because the rural areas where you have this diminished rural turnout in 2018 was the reason Democrats won so easily. Here, in Pennsylvania, it's a little bit different. It's more like states like West Virginia and Ohio, where these rural areas are already very Republican and turnout was already very high. So it may be more difficult for Republicans to win in a wave year. This is just a theory. I could be completely wrong about that, but I believe that suburban turnout will still be up and urban turnout will still be up in Pennsylvania, as opposed to Democrats where in states like Wisconsin and Michigan, they more rely on some of these driftless areas, some of these rural areas, where in Pennsylvania it's a different story. And it would be a very close race and the Republicans could easily win it, but right now I do think it would narrowly go to the Democrats. So overall, it looks like 52 Republicans, 48 Democrats. This would be a net zero change for either party based on or comparing it to 2020, but, there's a possibility that Republicans get as many as 55 seats by flipping Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. That'd be a very big victory for them. There's also the possibility Democrats win Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, and they also win North Carolina and Wisconsin, and, maybe even one of the Georgia seats this year. So there is definitely a possibility that they can win those seats. I think it's unlikely right now because I'm assuming this is going to be a Republican wave year, but this will certainly be a very interesting Senate election, and I'll continue to cover it until the election, which is now. It's only 2 years away, so it's, very close to now. But anyway, thank you guys all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.